Chapter 3. My Gap Years. Daddy, what were your gap years? My daughter asked. The best of times and the worst of times, I said. Was the worst time when Baba called you pathetic? When Papa didn't call you on your 40th birthday? Or when Mama minimized your comedy appeal to Baptist fundamentalists on Twitter and WordPress? My daughter replied. Unlike mothers on maternity leave, I didn't have a stable career waiting for me to return. I never managed to become the consummate rainmaking IT headhunter at Robert Half and Beyond. I was more of a trickler. I decided to assume ownership of my comedy career from the stay-at-home dad front. I launched the Doodle Dad Year podcast as a way to repurpose all of my shadow banned jokes from Twitter and author a book for doodle dads about working remotely and controlling my kids through comedy. Because until now, books on fatherhood blow. I'll admit, it's pretty depressing to hear constant updates about how unemployment in America is at a 45-year low, knowing that I've graduated from a top communication school in the country, Ithaca College, in case you're wondering, otherwise known as Cornell's retarded next-door neighbor. I was in the distinguished Roy H. Park School of Communications, so I could suck down a bong hit of strong indoor weed and manage not to stutter every 2 seconds. Since graduating from Ithaca College in 1999, I've been talent hooking on and off as an IT recruiter in both LA and Manhattan. Along the way, I've written a bunch of TV spec scripts and original pilots for my portfolio, trying to secure TV literary agent representation since I was 23 years old. I have distinct memories of faxing my friend's spec script and writing a note to Seth MacFarlane after reading about American Dad in The Hollywood Reporter back in the day. I always wrote sample spec scripts for TV shows that made me mad with jealousy. These shows made me laugh so hard that I instantly felt inferior. So without succumbing to anxiety and self-hate, I dug deep and banged out spec scripts after work or between jobs, which normally involve cold calling my brains out for IT staffing agency firms such as Remington International in LA and the Creative Group with Robert Half in Manhattan. This experience helped transform me into the fearless, high-pitching joke animal I am today. You can check out any of these script gems on the Doodle Dad Year website. My American Dad spec almost got me a paid fellowship at Nickelodeon. Prior to that one, my 30 Rock spec made me a recommended writer on TVWriter.com. You can also read a Louis spec in honor of the late, great, always scariest elephant in the room, Patrice O'Neal. Headliner Slayer great, Nick DiPaolo loved it. The pilot I wrote for Nick, Mr. Right, not so much. Margaret Cho gave my Mike Mates pilot the So Funny nod in a direct message on Twitter. But I'm not moving back to LA in this resistor freakout climate. Fuck that. So, as my old sales boss from Thor Staffing in Manhattan Beach used to pound into my cranium during the major post 9/11 recession, innovate or die. He also used to say, Michael, you're an eclectic kid and have all the makings of a star racehorse, but pick a fucking race already. You'll burn out from overextension, and you're not Seth MacFarlane talented either. Not his exact words, but you get the gist. I eventually got my TV writing break from VH1 Classic in Manhattan. My daughter was only 2 years old at the time. I was hired to write all the music video intro host reads for WWE great Chris Jericho. I hugged it out with Chris Jericho on the set after the shoot. Jericho delivered all my lines about luscious locks and long-haired cowboys from New Jersey with big-time soul reverberating gusto. He even threw off his leather jacket for the occasion. After Chris Jericho read the host read about his favorite lead singer, Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden, he went nuts. Pretty sure the line was, they call Bruce Dickinson the air raid siren because his supernatural voice pierces through the clouds of heavy metal heaven. Seconds later, Chris Jericho blurted out, who wrote that line? That would be me, Chris, the knock-kneed 6'4" Jew who couldn't dunk a basketball if his life depended on it. I also had the experience of writing all the TV host reads for another video countdown marathon, Music Independence Day on VH1. A step up from VH1 Classic. Too bad the hick host from Pittsburgh thought he could ad-lib all the music video introductions instead. I even waked and baked for the occasion, which doodle dads never do. But it's not every day that you get to hear your words on TV for an entire 12-hour-long music marathon celebrating the best summer-themed jams of all time. This lesson taught me that writing for someone other than yourself sucks because you're relinquishing way too much power over your material. VH1 would have been better served with me performing my own written material, but I didn't have any VJ credits on my resume, including kicking away Kennedy's foot for trying to play footsie with me during the opening of Planet Hollywood in Manhattan. So, after my wife got pregnant with Art Show, our second real-life dream child, I got a call from my old sales boss. I cut my hair, bought some suits, and started work as the new business development manager for Robert Half in Manhattan. I swallowed plenty of pride. After writing for TV twice in the same year, I thought my days of being a cold calling indentured servant were over. 9 months later, I got fired for my new recruiting manager role within the creative group at Robert Half for not bringing in enough candidates during the dead of August. Outshining my boss at karaoke earlier that month didn't help either. In addition to my growing stubble and air of entitlement, I was writing a pilot for Nick DiPaolo after impressing him with my Louis spec. The fact I had $80,000 up in the air for billing for Robert Half to screw me out of didn't help my long-term employment prospects with the evil empire either. What I've learned during my gap years is how much I hate sore losers who remain hostage to past slights. Like Tony Robbins says, either you A, play a victim and think, poor, poor, pitiful me, or B, move forward in life with the attitude that setbacks are temporary. Setbacks do not define me, and sometimes the biggest setbacks can serve as the greatest kick in the butt to push your true career obsession into hyperspeed. Not his exact words, but you get the gist. I don't think Tony Robbins is one to obsess over exact quoting either. Have you seen his documentary on Netflix? I thought I dropped F-bombs for emphasis. Now I'm thinking of the scene from Entourage when Dice scores the pilot with Johnny Drama for Johnny's Bananas and says, "Now Johnny, we do the fucking." Dice still rules. One of the funniest lines Dice has uttered in recent years is this: "Trump, he stole my act." So being honest with my gap year repellent resume, and considering the fact that Charles Bukowski is my role model, he was no stranger to his fair share of gap years between ill-paying factory jobs before getting settled at the post office. I've decided to bet it all on the muse and on myself. The bullpens of various IT agency sales offices were my post office, and now it's time to put my comedic stamp on the world of parenting books or die a contented, unimaginative, unoriginal corporate stiff. Bukowski was correct. Writing is the only good fight. And most men are finished by age 26, with kids, a mortgage, and a steady job to keep a roof over their family's American dream. They must sell their bosses on the impression that they exist to please them, maximize profits, and have their time exploited for all it's worth. At 42, I've survived my pain period of exclusion, only to emerge stronger, tougher, and funnier than ever, hell-bent on being heard, despite Twitter's attempt to censor my off-the-cuff personality. But I won't bitch about it. That's why I decided to write my book, because only my editor can censor me now. My gap years have broken my pot-addicted binge mentality for good. My gap years have brought morning prayer into my life, where I give thanks and praises. I struggle to emote about my wife more than I like because my gap years have tested her patience in bankrolling my dreams of making it as a writer, a podcaster, and a provider for our family of 5. I get it. My gap years have led to me getting published again on the Good Men Project, breaking my self-publishing streak, which is a pleasant change of pace. My gap years have made me a practicing pescatarian comedian in bursts at a time. My gap years have shown that I'm fighting for self-respect. My gap years have shown that I'm not fighting for another cubicle job, but to get paid as a stay-at-home comedian dad, a podcast host, and a bigwig author with massive speaking engagements on the horizon. My goal is to be the face of the remote work revolution. Ideally, my best-selling books this year, Controlling My Kids, a Comedy, a Love Story, and Do It All Dad Does Jokes, will afford me the opportunity to get paid and to hang out with my kids more because they're superior company to most adults. My gap years have shown me the importance of assuming ownership of my happiness and destiny so that my beautiful children, who've given me heaven on earth, can follow my lead, refusing to hound HR humpback dwellers for interviews, relegated to dreamless boiler rooms below Penn Station, and tripling down on myself, making it as a big deal American comedian Arthur without the need for their paltry handouts is a great place to start.